Hello chums! If you've been with this channel for any length of time, you'll probably know that a good portion of my content focuses on engine swaps in Gran Turismo 7. Having spent lots of time trying out lots of engines in lots of cars, I figured it wouldn't be the worst idea to make a video compiling some of the options that might be best avoided. After all, Gran Turismo 7 has the most expensive in-game economy out of any game in the series, and engine swaps are not cheap by any stretch either, so perhaps it might be handy to know which engines not to spend your money on. The swaps I'll be featuring are listed in no particular order, and there's any number of reasons why I've picked them, whether it be the cost, the lack of performance, or maybe there's a car better suited to the particular engine. Let's begin. I'll start off with a fairly obvious and recent one. The Citroën DS with the M64 engine from the 1992 Porsche 911. It's by no means a particularly difficult car to drive with this engine, especially if you don't do too much in the way of power upgrades. However, the Citroën has no options for generating downforce, and it has a distinct lack of weight over the front axle given that it's a front-wheel drive, meaning there's very little traction. The result of that is a rather silly amount of wheel spin. While this can be corrected with ballast weight over the front axle, you then run into the issue of ineffective brakes. When the Volkswagen Beetle is a better choice for the engine, you know you've got a bit of a dud. My next pick is the BMW 3-litre CSL with the V8 engine from the Z4 GT3. The 3-litre CSL is easily one of the coolest cars on the planet, but part of that is down to the Batmobile rear wing. However, with at least 500 horsepower, it really needs something more to keep the car planted at high speeds. The only choice for us is a custom wing set, which is hideous. Once you have the rear wing fitted, the CSL isn't as bad as you might expect. However, this engine can also be fitted to the E46 M3, E92 M3, and the F82 M4, all of which can handle the power infinitely better. If you do decide to go with the CSL, my recommendation is to set it up for 600 performance points, where the power is much more manageable and the fuel economy makes it a good choice for the Tokyo race. Next up, we have the Garage RCR Civic, with the engine from the Super GT Honda NSX. With a turbo upgrade, this is the second most powerful front-wheel drive car in the entire game, with first place going to the Nismo LM Group 1 car. While the Group 1 car has lots of downforce and modern race car technology to handle the power, this Civic does not. It's a resto mod of a 30-year-old hatchback that has 840 horsepower while weighing not much more than a Jack Russell. As a result, it's a temperamental pain in the rear, just like my pet Chihuahua. There are 4 other cars that receive this engine, and all of them handle it infinitely better. Factor in this engine swap costs 500,000 credits, and it's not hard to see why it's a waste of your time and your money. My next loser is a VR38 swap. The R35 engine is available for 10 cars. There's some very good options in there too. The Lancia Delta, Nismo 400R and R32 Nismo all have 4-wheel drive to handle the power. The Alpine A110 has mid-engined weight balance and go-kart-like handling. The Nissan 300ZX and the 2023 Z car both have good downforce levels and handle the engine better than you might expect. And then there's the Nissan 180 SX. Until I featured it on my Taming a Monster series, I completely forgot it even existed. When I tried it though, it wasn't as bad as I expected. It didn't blow my cock off either, which the Lancia Delta most certainly did. When there's so many good choices for this engine, saying that the 180SX could be worse isn't really enough to justify it. My final pick for this video is one engine, but for a few different cars. The Porsche 959 engine is interesting, because the car it comes from is a right bastard once upgraded. Ironically, all of the cars its engine can be put into are also right bastards. However, the 1992 Porsche 911 Carrera is slightly less of a horror show than the other 3 choices, thanks to its downforce and underpinnings that aren't completely ancient. Of the remaining 3, I wanted to draw particular attention to both the 356 Carrera hardtop and the 1973 911 RS. Both of these cars can barely handle this engine in its stock 440 horsepower form, but this is an engine swap, so of course we're going to slap on racing tyres and punch the engine out to the full 800 horsepower, at which point both Porsches become 2 of the worst cars in the entire game. Typical Porsche lift-off oversteer meets brakes that are made from milk bottle caps, and to top it all off, there's no options for rear downforce at all, so both cars are insanely unstable at high speeds. When you then consider the fact that the engine swap costs over 1 million credits, I genuinely cannot think of a worse engine swap in the entire game. No, honestly, I would rather drive a K20 swapped Abarth 595. So, that was 5 engine swaps that you should avoid. Let me know which swaps you think are the worst in the comments below. and feel free to let me know if you'd like to see a part 2 to this video while you're there. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you found this video enjoyable or helpful. If so, please consider liking and subscribing, and touching my bell so that you get notified of my future uploads. Take care now, and ta-ra.